so I'm going to do a quick video on these Yitamotor lights that I just got in. So with these lights, some of the things you need to know, these are have a bottom mount like this. So depending on your application, this comes with a bolt right here. So depending on your application, you may be looking for something that has a mounting kit, something like this, where it mounts on the side of the light, kind of in this fashion here. These would be for the top of your truck, something like that. So just make sure you're ordering the right ones when you order these lights. So you're probably wondering why these lights are so cheap, if they're not good or anything like that. Well, I've already plugged them in and they're pretty bright, and I have a bunch of rigid lights on my truck and they're about just as bright as those. So basically, construction is kind of a metal aluminum type of a housing. Typical on most lights like these, first thing you need to do is, if you take a closer look at how this is mounted on the front here, you can see down inside here where the plastic and the bracket kind of meet. That's basically, these screws are pushing down on this mount to create a waterproof seal, and you can see the gasket that's down in there is a little bit possibly even warped. Alright, so the basic mount for these comes with this kind of a bracket. You may not be sure what to do with this thing, but I'll explain it to you really quick, and I'll actually use this because I was going to mount this outside on the truck, but we're in Colorado and the weather's a little cold right now. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to mount this. This goes to the rear. These little notches here are going to engage the back of this light to kind of give you a little bit of a positive lock. So you're going to just drop the bolt in. No washer or anything like that goes in this part because it locks the bolt in. You're just going to run it down through here. You're going to use a flat washer, followed by a lock washer, followed by a nut. And I may cut this video into pieces just for the sake of saving some time. So same thing with this one. You're going to use a flat washer, a lock washer, followed by one of the nuts. And all this stuff is supplied with these lights. So it's pretty easy. Let's see. So just like that, they're mounted. Now these are, if you have a bumper, you may have to drill into your bumper to get these on. Some bumper guards, brush guards, will already have pre-drilled holes in them that you can use. You should use those. If you're drilling into plastic on your bumper, just keep in mind that anytime you hit a bump, they're going to rattle, so you're better off going into something metal like this. I'm just using this as an example, but you could go out and buy this kind of angle and put it on there. So what you're going to do next, you're left over with a nut, and you're left over with the bolt that's already pre-installed on the light right here. So you're basically just going to run the bolt down in here. You're going to tighten it with the nut. And by the way, this is a 1/2 inch, but you can kind of get away with a 13 millimeter if you have one. For here, we're just going to hand tighten it. So that's pretty much it. That's kind of how that works. The light will not move. If you need to make an adjustment, you loosen the nut on the fog light, and you can adjust it this way, kind of at a up and down angle. Once you kind of get it kind of focused where you want it, just tighten that bolt up. Same thing with the other one. Just get the bolt started. Again, it's I believe it's a 1/2 inch open-ended wrench, or a 13 millimeter would probably work also. So just like that, these two things are mounted. That's it. That's really all there is to it as far as mounting them goes. As far as wiring goes, you're basically going to have these two pigtails on the end, and that's all you're getting. If you kind of know what you're doing, it's really easy. If you're not sure what to do, my suggestion would be buy the wiring harness. It's going to save you a ton of money. I think they're only like $8 or $9. If you do know what you're doing, you're definitely going to need to install a relay in this line somewhere. So these are going to go down to a relay, which is going to be powered by a switch and 12-volt power. If you do not use a relay, and you basically just wire these to a switch to your battery, they will work, but you're going to put so much power onto your switch that eventually the switch is going to melt, and you're going to have a problem. Potentially have a fire or something like that. So you're better off buying these harnesses, and I'm going to explain why. These harnesses will come with a switch. They'll also come with a built-in relay. They'll come in with terminals and everything. So you basically just connect it to your battery, you mount your switch somewhere, and you plug in your lights. It's easy. Best money you'd probably ever spend as far as hooking these up. It'll save you easily an hour. Okay, so now that these are kind of mounted how you want them on your car or Razor or anything, as far as the wiring goes, so that's kind of where you're gonna do your own thing. You can wire them apart from each other like this. You can wire them together, go in the same direction, which makes it a little bit easier, and then you just zip tie everything so it's nice and clean. So in this case, what we're going to do is just do a couple of connectors, just for the sake of this example. Just some splice connectors like this. You can just get the red ones together, positive. Again, this is pretty easy, even very, very basic stuff. The main thing you need to remember is just you need that relay in the line. Because like I said, it will work for a while, but the current that's going through the switch is going to be so hot it's going to melt your switch. It may not melt it the first day, it may not melt it the first week, but eventually it's going to damage that switch. Your lights are either going to be stuck on, and then you're going to have a big problem, or you won't be able to turn them off, and they just won't work anymore. Also, these things, these harnesses sometimes come with built-in fuse, inline fuse. So it's a no-brainer. You're getting the fuse, you're getting a relay, you're getting a switch, you're getting the whole harness. And like I said, I think Yitamotor sells them for about $8 or $9. So it's pretty easy. All right. So you're going to take the other end of your harness, if you hopefully bought one. Get your wires together. You're going to put your positive into your positive splice connector. You're going to put the negative into the negative splice connector. Like so. And again, I'm doing this pretty quick just for the sake of this video. You then hook up your harness. Most cars you're going to hook up your negative first before you hook up your positive. So, with that, you're going to find obviously a mounting place for your switch. This whole kit is already wired now. So you're just going to turn it on and they're on. So, it's pretty simple. The mounting is pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. You may be confused if you get it out of the box and you just see there's a couple of bolts and you're not sure how to use it, but that's pretty much it. And even just hand tightening these are pretty tight on this angle. So there's not a lot to it. The wiring harness is going to save you a ton of time. I just installed this in just a couple of minutes. There's enough line in these install kits. You can wire this everywhere. They're already wrapped in a coating. So there's really nothing else to do except for enjoy the lights. Again, you can see that they're pretty bright. I don't want to point it at the camera, but they're pretty darn bright. So I have rigids on my truck. I was going to use these as lower bumper lights, maybe even put them on a Razor, but they're casting a ton of light. I mean, I would challenge any light that I have with these lights as far as the light output goes.